How's it going, guys? Hope everyone's feeling good, doing well. Today we're going to be talking about something that's a war that was called the Battle of Vienna. You can see it right here. Just to frame this event, we are talking about something that happens in the 17th century, so the 1600s. You can use your eyes and just see the different events that are happening in Europe at this time. This is happening during the Age of Enlightenment. This is happening with close proximity, temporal proximity to the Glorious Revolution, the 9 Years' War. The War of Spanish Succession will come after this, so on and so forth. Yes, this is, of course, the modern era of humanity, which begins, the cutoff is 1500s, according to some scholars. So everything, into the 16th century and onward to today, all these green centuries are the modern era, and this is an event that happens kind of not in the middle of it, but maybe a third into it or something like that. So without further ado, the Battle of Vienna. So this takes place September in 1683. It's on a mountain. It's near Vienna. Okay, so the Ottomans were besieging Vienna, the city, for 2 months. For 2 full months. Okay, so if you're a long-time viewer of the channel, you know that I often am confusing and getting confused between the Holy Roman Empire and the Habsburgs. That's because for much of Holy Roman Empire history, they were ruled by someone from the Habsburg monarchy, or dynasty, or family, or house, whatever you want to call it. And this, of course, is happening in a period where the HRE is led by the Habsburgs. It was also fought by the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Okay, so this was a union that existed in Europe from 1569, that is, to 1795. Very large, powerful union, a Christian country. I'm emphasizing Christian because this Battle of Vienna, is a war between Ottomans, who are Muslims, and Holy Roman Empire and Polish Lithuania, which of course are Christian nations. This is a war between men, of course, between leaders, but a war between religions. That's at least how I see it, or at least it's a dimension to this war. And it doesn't necessarily speak to Islam or Christianity. One could imagine a war between nations of different religions, and of course there have been throughout history countless. But this particular war is a war between a Muslim nation and a Christian nation, and this is happening in Europe. Okay, this is happening in continental Europe. Something that perhaps today in 2025 seems strange, because we're born, if you're a millennial, born in the 90s, then you have a couple hundred years of solid Christian European history going before you, and everything feels nice and snug and cozy, and Europe feels quite stable. But if you wind back the clock further enough, you have hordes of enemy nations or enemy armies, enemy depending, of course, which side you're on, at the gates, literally at the gates, in Vienna, in Austria. Very much continental Europe, very much like Europe. Okay, so both of these powers were under the command of King John III Sobieski, and he, of course, is waging this war against the Ottomans and their vassals and tributary states. Vassals and tributary states. So these would be states that have bent the knee to the Ottomans. They are in submission, and they, perhaps they get some sort of advantage conferred to them by bending the knee, but they also have to give things in exchange. Okay, so this is the first time the Commonwealth and HRE are cooperating militarily against the Ottomans. And here we go. The defeat is a turning point for the Ottomans, who are trying to expand into Europe, and they would gain no further ground into Europe after this date. So this war is a turning point of Ottoman expansion. Okay, so furthermore, in 99, okay, our war is happening in 83. So in 99, which is 16 years after this, the Ottomans would cede most of Ottoman Hungary to Leopold I, HRE. Okay, so the war was won by combined force of HRE and PLC, Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Okay, so and the bulk of the PLC forces were the forces of the Crown of the Kingdom of Poland. So Lithuania was delayed and did not reach Vienna in time for this battle. And like we said, overall command was by John III Sobieski. The Ottomans were led or commanded by Grand Vizier. This is the name. Mirzinfalu Kara Mustafa Pasha is his name. Okay, so we have quite a varied spread for the amount of men that were fielded by the Ottomans. So it's between 90 and 300,000, which is an order of magnitude. They begin the siege in 83 in July. We have 60 ortaz of janissaries. Okay, janissaries are part of an elite infantry unit that was formed by Ottoman sultans' household troops. And we have an observation army of 70,000. And they are, of course, this is what an observation army is, if you're not sure. Okay, so this war, according to some historians, is a turning point in the Ottoman Habsburg Wars, which is a 300-year struggle between HR and Ottoman empires. Right. During the 16 years following the battle, Austrian Habsburgs would gradually conquer southern Hungary, Transylvania, largely clearing them of Ottoman forces. The battle is noted for the largest known cavalry charge in history. All right, so interesting. There's a little snippet here about a connection to the September 11th attacks. This is from Lawrence Wright, a writer and journalist. So September 11, 1683 was seen by Al-Qaeda as the date when the Western world gained dominance over Islam. The 11th of September, 318 years later, would mark the rebirth of Islamic power. All right, this is a map. This is Europe after the Battle of Vienna, with green being the Ottomans and with vassal states, probably in lighter green or these dashed colors. This is the PLC, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. This is the HRE. All right, so I just skipped over to this excerpt here, this chapter or paragraph. So it is recorded that the Polish cavalry slowly emerged from a nearby forest to the cheers of onlooking infantry. The Polish cavalry, of course, are like an elite unit that would prove very successful in this in the PLC/HRE strategy. At 4 p.m., a detachment of 120 hussars engaged in a probing charge, successfully proving Ottoman vulnerability to attack, but taking many casualties. And then during this action, they would approach the Turkenschanz, which was now threatened by three separate forces: the Poles from the west, the Saxons and Bavarians from the northwest, and the Austrians from the north. And at this point, the Ottoman vizier decided to leave this position and retreat to his headquarters in the main camp further south. However, by then, many Ottoman soldiers were already leaving the battlefield. The relief army was now ready for a final push. At around 6 p.m., the Polish king ordered the cavalry to attack in 4 contingents: 3 Polish groups and 1 from the Holy Roman Empire. 18,000 horsemen charged down the hills, the largest cavalry charge in history. I'm, of course, reminded by the epic charge of the Riders of Rohan in Helm's Deep, in the Two Towers. Sobieski leads the charge at the head of 3,000 Polish heavy lancers, the so-called winged hussars. And the Polish side had a sprig of straw in their helmets to distinguish them from Tatars fighting on the Ottoman side. So this is some sort of vassal. The cavalry headed directly towards the Ottoman camps and Kara Mustafa's headquarters, while the remaining Viennese garrison sallied out of its defenses to join the assault. The Ottoman forces were tired and dispirited following the failure of the sapping attempt, sapping being trying to blow up the walls, the fortifications, the assault of the city, and the advance of the Holy League infantry on the Turkenschanze. Less than 3 hours after the decisive cavalry charge, the Holy League forces had won the battle and successfully defended Vienna. The first Catholic officer who entered the city was Louis William. Afterwards, Sobieski paraphrased Julius Caesar's famous quotation, Veni, vidi, vici, by saying, Venimus, vedimus, Deo vicit. We came, we saw, God conquered. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this sort of really quick overview about the Battle of Vienna. I learned a couple things. I didn't even actually know about the PLC, and it seems like the PLC was a big player in Europe during this early modern period, and I just didn't even know about them. So I'm learning new stuff all the time here. If you guys enjoyed, you guys can just keep watching more stuff. I have a lot of videos here, so check out more videos, and I hope you guys have a great rest of I actually have a great weekend. These videos are coming out on Friday, but actually you guys could be watching this any day of the week, so I take that back. Just have a great week. I'll leave it like that, open-ended. Alright guys, bye.